Hello, hello. My name is Tiago. I'm 38 years old. I'm from Brazil. I'll talk about abundance. And as I said, my name is Tiago. I'm from Brazil. I'm 38 years old. I'm a futurist, educator, author, and entrepreneur. And I'm so happy to be here, so happy. Thank you, Kyla. Thank you, Sydney. Thank you, Singularity, for having me here. And I have three things to say. First, the ideas that I'm going to share here are just my perspective. It's not the ultimate truth. The second thing is that English is not my first language, so I apologize in advance for any mistakes. And the third thing I want to say is that the main idea behind this talk was an important learning that I had with a friend of mine called Osvaldo Oliveira. So I assume that you are here in order to understand a little bit about the future. I assume that you want to know the new technologies, the new startups, the new scientific discoveries, the new economy. So let's talk about the new economy. Today we have three economies in the world. You have the classic economy, you have the digital economy, and you have the post-digital economy. And I'm going to display for you the three business models for the three of them. The first one is the classic economy model. It's very easy to recognize. The blue square, the blue lines are the boundaries of the company. So inside the square, it's company. Outside the square, it's not company. So we have the first layer, the decision makers, then the middle management, and in the bottom, the workers. It's easy to understand. Everybody knows this model. The second model, the digital model, is a little bit different, but I think we can recognize this model. The purple lines are the boundaries here. So the company, as you can see, gets smaller. So we have less people at the decision-making layer. The middle management layer, there is people there, of course. There are people there, of course, but a lot of people are being replaced by automation and task routing. And the workers are outside the company, the micro workers, the freelancers, the gig economy. For example, Airbnb hosts or Uber drivers. It's very easy to understand as well. But the model that really impresses me is this one, is the post-digital model. So this model is a little bit tricky, and I'm gonna share with you why. We have decision makers here, of course we do, but I call them starters, because they start the venture, they start the organization, and after a few months, a few years, they leave the organization. Because the organization self-manages itself through technology. It self-manages itself, for example, through blockchain, but could be any technology, could be something that will surpass blockchain the near future. And everybody that works for this company is outside the company. Everybody that works for this company are micro workers or freelancers. But the nice thing here is that this company is like a quantum company. If there are people working for this company, the company exists. If no one is working for the company doesn't exist. As we can see in the quantum physics, you have to observe a certain particle in order to know if it's there or not. Here you have to observe if there are people working for this company or not. So you can see if the company exists or not. And also, there are two layers in each model. The company's layer, the company's boundaries, and the ecosystem's boundaries. So in the first example, it's easy to understand that the company is more important than the ecosystem. In fact, they have the same size. In the second example, the company is as important as the ecosystem. Uber needs drivers, and drivers need Uber. But in the third example, the ecosystem becomes more important than the company. And this idea leads us to an understanding that we are moving from companies to ecosystems. We are moving from the idea of accumulating to the idea of sharing. We are moving from the idea of power to the idea of empowerment. We are moving from the idea of maintaining to the idea of evolving. We are moving from abundance, scarcity, to abundance. And you may say, okay, I like this idea, but what is abundance? Abundance has many definitions. I'm going to share with you the definition that I like the most. Abundance is the idea, is the belief that there are enough resources for everybody. There are resources for everybody. What kind of resources, Tiago? Food, shelter, security, learning spaces, justice, health, jobs, love, you name it. Right now, a few of you are agreeing with me, and I'm happy because I already convinced you. But I believe that most of you are thinking, this guy is crazy. This is insane because, man, I don't know where you live, but in our world, we have poverty, we have hunger, we have wars. So how dare you? How can you say that there are for everybody? This is a so privileged speech. You are so naive. I don't think I'm naive. I'm coming from a developing country. My mother was a teacher, and she taught in more than 30 years helping students in poor communities. So I know a little bit about this. So my belief is that it's not the lack of resources that is creating poverty or creating wars. It's the mentality behind the resources we have already. But okay, let's assume we don't have enough resources for everybody yet. Let's assume that. Even though I think exponential technologies can provide us a world of abundance very soon. And in order to talk about this, I have to create a scenario with you. So this scenario, our goal here is to create a scenario where we can achieve a world of abundance, where we can achieve a world we can provide tasty and healthy food for everybody. So in order to create this scenario, I need 5 elements. And the first element is this one, Ava Labs.
My name is Alec Lee, and I'm the CEO of Ava Labs. Today, only a handful of these bottles remain, and if you can find one, they fetch well over $10,000 a piece. We can recreate bottles like this, or even digitally perfect our own, for a fraction of the cost of the originals. All food, and indeed all wine, is nothing but a collection of molecules. By analyzing the molecular profile of wines, we can rebuild those originals molecule by molecule.
So he's saying that he built wines molecule by molecule. Maybe in the near future, any kind of beverage can be rebuilt molecule by molecule. Maybe after that, any kind of food can be reconstructed molecule by molecule. But let's add another element to this scenario. Let's add the idea of molecular robots. Last year, we had this amazing headline. UK scientists have created the first molecular robot, the robot that works at a molecular scale. And the lead scientists said that within 10 to 20 years, molecular robots will begin to be used to build molecules and materials on assembly lines in molecular factories. So imagine that the food that we spoke just 1 minute ago will be scalable because we're going to have molecular factories. But let's add another element to this equation. Food made from electricity. Last year, we had this unbelievable headline. Food made from electricity. Finnish scientists created food just using water, energy, CO2, and microbes, and the output was a powder that consists in more than 50% of protein, so it's very nutritious. Even the article said that it could be the solution for world's hunger. But when you see the powder, it doesn't look like very tasty, so maybe we can add another element to this equation. And this new element is this algorithm that analyzes any photo of a dish and gives you the recipe. So as you can see here, the algorithm missed 3 ingredients. But now you know that next year it will miss just 2, and then just 1, and then it will be perfect. And let's add another element to our equation: sensory substitution, a new way to feed ourselves.
By merging the physicality of molecular gastronomy with virtual reality, we can finally enjoy any food that we want in a whole new way. Imagine treating food like a piece of computer code. You can change the behavior of the food however you want. So the texture, the taste, and how it's presented. We're threading these multi-sensory experiences together with technologies like visuals, the flavors, the scents, the texture, the consistency when you bite into the food, right? And the auditory feedback of what you eat. When you combine all of that, it could really trick our minds to believe that you're eating something that you're not.
Okay, so let's bring everything together. Let's imagine that these technologies become so cheap that they can be available for anyone in the world. And let's imagine that we converge these technologies in a new solution. And let's imagine that we can bring even more technologies to this convergence. Maybe we will see a world of abundance, a world that we can provide tasty and healthy food for anyone in the world. Okay, I know this is just a scenario, but this scenario is important because it brings us to reflections. First, it's feasible, it's possible, and maybe it will be feasible sooner than you thought. And second, and more important, technology is not enough. We have to have a new mental model behind technology. And my role today is to talk about this new mental model, the abundance mental model. So, in order to, I want to invite you to live in a world of abundance. I have to ask you to challenge your primary belief, because in order to live in a world of abundance, you have to challenge your primary belief. There are 2 kinds of people in the world today: people that believe in a world of abundance and people that believe in a world of scarcity. And I'm going to show you the difference by showing these 2 diagrams. The scarcity model starts with a belief. People that live in a world of scarcity, it starts with a belief. The belief is this: there aren't enough resources for everybody. If you believe on that, you immediately become afraid, because you know there are resources, not for everybody, and in order to have resources, someone else won't have resources, won't have access to them. So you start to compete. Not just compete, but to stock your resources. And by competing and by stocking, there are less resources flowing to the system. And scarcity self-fulfills itself. The person in the beginning of the diagram will say, I told you, man, I told you, there aren't enough resources for everybody. Then we start to live in a permanent state of alert. We have to have more. We have to compete more. We have to stock more. And this is an infinite loop. And I think you guys will agree with me that we've been shaping our lives, our societies, our companies, our economies, our happiness by this model. But there is a different model, a completely different model, the abundant model, the abundance model. It starts with a different primary belief. The primary belief here is there is for everybody. There are enough resources for everybody. If you believe there are enough resources for everybody, you become confident. You are not afraid anymore because there are resources for everybody, so there are resources for myself. There are resources for myself. When you are not afraid, you put your resources to flow into the system. And those in need will use these resources, and if necessary, you'll use someone else's resources that are flowing into the system. So with more confidence, with more resources, abundance self-fulfills itself. And the person in the beginning of this diagram will say, I told you, bro, there is for everybody. There are for everybody. There are enough resources for everybody. So what I'm saying is that you are living in a world shaped by your primary belief. If you believe that there aren't enough resources for everybody, I know in which world you are living. But if you believe there are enough resources for everybody, you can live in a totally different world. And I know that a few of you are thinking, this is a hippie statement. This is a very hippie statement. Guys, I'm not hippie. I'm an entrepreneur. I helped to co-found many companies. I believe on financial sustainability. This is not about being hippie or not being hippie. It's about thinking about a new economy, believing on a new way of making businesses. So I'll give you two examples. I helped to co-found Perestroika. It's the biggest school of its kind in Latin America. I'm not sure if it's the biggest one, but it's an important one. And the main differentiation of this school is its authorial methodology. It's a very creative methodology. So one day we decided just to go open source, just to open our methodology for everybody, our IP. And then a few friends of mine said, this is insane, Tiago. A big university will read your methodology, will copycat you, and then they will provide the same service charging less, and you are out of the market in 6 months, 1 year. And I said, I don't think so. And in fact, what happened was the opposite. Big universities read our methodology, and by reading our methodology, they became so impressed, they invited us to give them consultancies. So we made more money by opening our methodology than by hiding our methodology. Second example, I spent 2 years of my life writing this book. It doesn't have an English version yet. Sorry, guys, I'm working on that. It's just in Portuguese, about the future of work. And I decided to sell the paper version, but I also decided to make the digital version free for everybody forever. And the same friends that criticized me in the prior example said to me, okay, Tiago, you won the first, but this one doesn't make any sense. Why do you spend 2 years writing a book and make it available for free for everybody? And I said, it feels right. It feels abundant. So what I'm trying to tell you is that we should embrace abundance. And in order to achieve world's abundance, we need also organizational abundance, because organizations can accelerate this process. So I have 4 suggestions for your organizations. The first suggestion, seek abundant models. Seek models that allow more abundance than scarcity, and I think we already talked about this. Second suggestion, foster abundant tribes. This magnificent book called Tribal Leadership explains for us that we have within our organizations 5 different tribes. I'm going to explain the 5 tribes for you, and I will start with the more scarce, and we'll end with the more abundant. The first tribe we have within our organizations is the despairing hostility member. This person usually is unlinked, is disconnected from the tribe. This person says, life sucks, life doesn't worth it, and it stands for 2% of our teams. The second tribe is the apathetic victim. This person usually says, you guys are so lucky. My life sucks, my boss sucks, my workmate sucks, my computer sucks, I'm so unlucky. And this person becomes angry, and this anger turns into bureaucracy. This person turns into a bureaucratic person. So this person works against the company, and it stands for 25% of our teams. Then we'll have the third tribe, the lone warriors. And it's very easy to explain a lone warrior. It's someone that's working for himself and not for the group. And it's very easy to see that in our world, we have a lot of lone warriors. Inside companies, within companies, we have 49% of lone warriors. So these three are the scarce tribes, but we do have abundant tribes. The first abundant tribe is the tribal pride member. This tribe, this person usually says, we are great, we are great. Our company is great, our organization is great, our leadership is great, our team is great, our products are great, our services are great, we are great. The competition, not very much. Not very much, they are okay. So it's a nice, it's abundant feeling, it's a nice feeling. Usually it stands for 22%, but there is a state of art of the abundant mindset within organizations. And this tribe is called the innocent wonderment, and I love this name. I love this name. What this person says, we are great, we are great. Our leadership is great, our team is great, our products are great, our services are great, we are great. So theirs. We are great. And if we are great, we don't need to compete. We can collaborate, we can co-create, we can create bridges among our institutions. I have a school that shares ideas about the future, about technology. Singularity is the best of its kind. It's a school that shares ideas on technology and new business models and on futurism. And we are collaborating. I'm not competing with them. I'm collaborating. I'm here collaborating because there is for everybody. So our role as leaders is to move the scarce tribes to the right side of the diagram. Third suggestion, you have to have abundant metrics. You have to have a new understanding about the company's role. This book is also an amazing book. Frederic Laloux explains that there is an evolution on our company vision. So if you are prioritizing profit over legacy, you are aiming scarcity. You are in this layer. If you are prioritizing legacy over profit, you are aiming abundance. You are in this layer. I love this quote from Annalise. She said, once I want to see leaders in the future saying, I don't want to be just the best in the world, I want to be the best for the world. I'm very proud to say that for the last 11 years, I decided to prioritize legacy, impact over profit. I decided to try to disrupt, to help to disrupt the traditional educational model. So I've done that by creating methodologies, by creating virtual reality classes. They are very scalable and they can reach many people around the world. I just helped to launch this new learning space. We call this the learning space of the future that has a lot of assets, as you can see. But we also have a philosophy. Our philosophy is this. If someone pays to attend to our courses, it becomes automatically a free course for someone that can't pay. And I think this is very abundant. I was taught that a millionaire was someone that has 1 million in his or her bank account, that a billionaire is someone that has 1 billion in his or her bank account. But is this the new definition of a millionaire? Is this the new definition of a billionaire? Or is this the old definition of a billionaire? Let's see what Jason Silva says, and I think he was inspired by Singularity Vision.
We need to extend our hands to one another. We've never had such tools to overcome all of the limitations of our humanity. We have the power, we have the will, we have the capacity, the creative capacity to overcome our limits. And so today, billions of us linking to one another, creating a global node, a global brain. What is the new definition of billionaire? The new definition of billionaire is he who will positively affect the lives of 1 billion people. He or she who will reach out and say, I will positively affect the lives of 1 billion people. This should be our goal. This is our responsibility. Here's our chance.
This is our chance. So what kind of millionaire you want to be? The traditional or the new one? And then just after having abundant metrics, you can think about abundant technologies, exponential technologies. And the examples that I showed you, I have to reinforce 3 things. First, they are in the very beginning. Second, they are very likely to converge. And third, they may be exponential. Of course we have challenges. Of course we have challenges. The first one, we cannot create a world of abundance just for a few. We have to create a world of abundance for everybody. Otherwise, we'll be increasing inequality. When it comes to technology, this is very tricky. We have to create abundance for everybody. A second challenge that we have, in order to embrace abundance, we have to create rituals, daily rituals, because we've been taught that the world is scarce. We've been taught by the scarce mentality. So it's a daily exercise. My suggestion is to create rituals for abundance every day, every week. In fact, speaking of which, I decided to create a ritual for today. Remember that I talk about my book? So I spoke with my publisher. So thank you, Gustavo. Thank you, Belas Letras. And I'm very happy to say that today is the day that we announced that we're going to have a digital English version for free for everybody forever. And I think this is a very abundant thing to do. So, final message. These are my contacts if you want to download this presentation. Of course I'm going to share the presentation. If you want to download this presentation, this is the link. If you want to download the book, this is the link. These are my social media profiles. And if you want to talk, I'll be around for the next 2 days. But I want to close this presentation talking about respect. Remember that I called this presentation Respect Abundance. Why respect abundance? Because respect comes from re-respect, and re-respect means to look again. I truly believe that if you take a second look on your primary belief, on your primary assumption, you'll challenge it, and you may live in a world of abundance. And you'll be very welcome if you do.